Mike and Mike at night.
Our news, our business.
Our news, and it's our business.
If you hear at nighttime,
Do you hear at the right time?
and what do?
We love, support, and we protect all day long.
All day, everything.
And every night, right?
Yeah, every night. Happy Friday, y'all. Happy Friday.
Hey, we love y'all, man. We thank y'all for joining and being with us and just sharing with us every day. You guys are special people. We are special people. And we appreciate everything that you all have to offer every night. We just want to say that. They say appreciation is the number one thing missing from every relationship.
Yep, it is. Now let me tell y'all about a little something. You know, I got some love, support, and protect today. I came over here, I was hungry. And I walk in, I go into my boy T's refrigerator, give me something to drink, turn around, you know, he started talking stuff. But then he was like, hey man, there's a sandwich for you on the table. And I'm like, yo, is it pork? He's like, no, yeah, man, yeah. Man, he had me a chicken sandwich on a brioche bun with some of that Popeye sauce on it, but it was homemade. Man, that sandwich was bomb.
Hey man, we got to love, support, and protect.
Yeah, man, I appreciate
Hey,
that,
my
man.
brother, hey, you know what I'm saying? Gotta take care of him.
You know, most brothers to come over, they offer you a beer or something like that, but they be like, man, let's hurry up and eat this sandwich before you get over here and start asking for the food. My brother saved me a chicken sandwich. That chicken sandwich was bomb, man.
Hey man, right on, brother.
I was looking at it like, wait, there ain't no more. I wanted another one. I appreciate you on that,
Hey,
brother.
not a problem, man. Had to look out for my brother. Check this out, man. We getting into some heavy stuff tonight. What we're gonna do is talk about racism,
Yeah,
especially in the white community,
yeah.
and how it relates to us as black people. Because we have issues with racism, not only in our community when it comes to self-hating, we're gonna touch on that a little bit, but the racism that we experience from our white counterparts that are also, and who also call themselves American.
Yeah.
So we do have some issues with racism, and we want to touch on those tonight. We want to touch on how to deal with them. We're going to ask the question, can blacks be racist? What types of racism do you prefer? I know you don't prefer any types of racism, but you know there's the covert and there's the overt. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, man, you stole my topics, man.
Looking at your shit, man.
You be looking at my notes, man.
Hey, but check this out. We're going to get into that in a minute. But I just wanted to open up and let you guys know that we all about the love, support, and protect. And so part of that, tonight we're talking about the love. And the love that goes between ourselves and the othering. That's what I say sometimes.
The other.
We got the brethren and then we got the othering.
The brethren and the other.
Those people outside. And I'm not talking about the necessarily the race, but the ethnicity.
Yeah.
Because I do know, and as you all also know, is that we have some people in the white community who love, support, and protect us just the same, and if not more in some cases, than our own brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
So just give us a minute. We're going to get active with y'all. We love, support, and protect y'all. Y'all tune in. And hey, tag somebody.
You know we need it like every day, every day, every day. Me and my homie. Need it like every day, every day, every day. When I'm alone in the room, and I don't have no one to talk to, I can pick up my phone.
Hey, rest in peace to my man Nate Dogg. Love, support, and protect. Hey, me and my homies, we kick it like every day. But anyway, we're going to get into this. Yes, we're going to get into this racism within the white community. Now, there's a couple of points that I definitely want to talk on, and a couple of things that I definitely want to get into right here. But I want to open up with, or maybe should I? No, I'm gonna open up with social racism. How do you deal with racism in the public? You know, sometimes when I walk into different places, I can almost feel the tension.
Yeah.
Or when I'm talking to people, you know what I tell a lot of people is I can smell it on them. And you can tell how people react to you, how they respond to you, and it tells you a lot of times what they're about, if they are racist or if they're not racist. And I know sometimes we can miscalculate or we can misaddress a situation because everybody is not racist. And sometimes you may feel that, but that might not be the case. That person may just be having a bad day. But how do we deal with racism socially? Before we talk about that I'm going to get into what we shouldn't do. If we know some places, and just like we get on this show every day and we talk about the black-owned businesses, this is Black Friday. This is what I'm going to say. If you all know racist places, I'm trying to spit up here a little bit. If y'all know racist places, put that up on in the comments. If you know there's some areas and places that we go and the people don't treat us with the love, support, and protect that we're supposed to treat each other with, let us know who these places are, because you know the number one thing that we can do to make sure that they're not racist is we can take our money away from these establishments and these organizations. Exactly. I went to a certain organization right here on, it was a tire place right here on Chambers, right off of Chambers and Andrews. And I walk in there, the guy's talking on the telephone, he looks at me, he continues to talk on the telephone. So I wait until he's done with the phone conversation, he hangs up the phone. So I started talking to him, the phone rings, he answers it again. I said, hold on now, man, you supposed to, I'm standing right here inside of your establishment, you're supposed to address whatever it is that I need from you. You're not supposed to be on the phone and answering phones. You tell those people to hold. Could you hold for a second? I'll be right with you.
Yeah.
She said the east side. The whole east side is racist. I don't know if I go that far. I know some good people on the east side. And I know some good black-owned businesses on the east side. But I want y'all to be a little bit specific because I can't do it. So y'all let me know if there's some places out there where you guys have experienced racism and how you dealt with it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, because it's huge. And when we out and about, and Terry makes it smart, why aren't we communicating those places that are racist? We'll get on Facebook and talk about everything else. But hop in on Facebook and say the restaurant that you went to that was acting racist towards you and what you had to deal with. And then we as black people don't patronize that place. Our money, we spend more money per capita than any other race with
America.
All these other people.
Right.
And if we don't go to that place anymore, they're going to see a deficit in some of the money that they're making, and
just
they're going to feel it.
Just like the bus boycotts. They felt that in their pockets.
Yeah.
And they said, you know what? Okay, y'all can sit wherever y'all want to sit.
Yeah.
And she's speaking specifically about the gentrification within the black community.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
I definitely get that. But that is the gentrification is on more of a social scale than it is on a personal scale, because this is being done systematically to us, and that systematic racism is deep, which brings me to my next point. And this is something I'm gonna let you guys know. This is something that we haven't really tackled on Mike and Mike at Night. Our news, our business. The reason why we haven't tackled this because I don't want to turn anybody away. I don't want anyone to think that I'm teaching hate or I'm teaching, any type of xenophobia or anything like that, going against anyone of another race or culture. That's not our motive. That's not what we do here on Mike and Mike at Night. What we try to do is educate our brothers and inculcate our brothers with the information that they need to be the best black people that they can be, not only for themselves, but for each other.
Amen, brother. Amen. And I agree with that. So, Terry, I got a question for you. What racism do you have to deal with on a daily basis, personally? Personal racism that you have to deal with on a daily basis?
Well, I just say the business that I conduct from day to day. For sometimes I've been an entrepreneur, and there's different venues that I go into to try to secure funds or even canvas the radio station and what we do here. And you can tell why I can say that I can tell or feel right away if I'm not welcome. And I can tell how the reception is when I talk about trying to promote and uplift the black community, how people respond to me on a day-to-day basis. So that's what I would say that I deal with. I just gave you one situation that I had to deal with, and there have been several more.
Okay. And I just want to share with y'all a racist situation that I dealt with today. I'm in Burlington Coat Factory, and there's two sisters. You know, they're dressed in fully, you know, they have their heads covered. They're in the fully African gown attire, two black women. And they have this big old box. I don't know what was in the box, but it was two huge boxes. And they're on their way out the door, and they got the shopping cart, and they're pushing out the door. Now, there's a white lady who's a guard at the door, and she tells them, stop. You can't take that cart out there. One of the ladies was pregnant, and they was like, well, we're just going to take it, and we're going to bring the car up front, we're just going to take it so we can slide it and unload it, and we'll try to explain it to her. And she would just, you just real like, no, no, no. So I was walking in and I heard this, and I said, well, what you think they're going to do? You think they're going to steal the cart? I said, it's obviously they're buying something from the store. And I said, you know, and she was like, well, we'll help them and everything. So something just told me, you know what, stop. I turned back around because I went walking on my way. I turned back around, I told the women, I said, you know what, I'm going to put the box in there. And it's a big, heavy box, and they had to walk at least 15 to 20 feet to get to the car that was in front of the store. And I went ahead and loaded it in, and I went to the lady, and I told her, I said, sometimes common sense trumps company policy. And I just want you to think about that. And I just walked away from her and I left her.
Now, you see what you did right there, and that was an excellent illustration of what we try to promote on this show. That's love, support, and protect.
Yeah.
You saw your brother or sister going through something in which they might have needed some help or needed some representation, especially by a man at that point in time, and you jumped right into you jumped right into position. That's what I'm talking about. That love, support, and protect. When we see black people out here going through something or being treated unfairly, we need to speak up. If it's no more to pull out your phone and record the racism, or even if it's to speak up and against that racism that you see going on, we love, support, and protect each other, and we need to continue to do that.
Yeah.
I just got one of the callers just text in, and he said, "What is Mike and Mike's at Night's stance on the black votes? Does it matter if young black men vote?" How do you feel about that?
It matters if young black men vote, but they must vote and they must educate themselves.
I would say the exact same thing. Go ahead, speak a little bit more on that.
You have to be an educated voter. You can't just go out and listen to Fox News on one end or CNN and you base who you're gonna vote for on that. You have to look at the policies that these politicians have written in the past, look at their past policies, what are they going to say and what are they going to do, not for anybody else, but in particular us as a black community. What is their agenda for us?
Now, that's interesting because that was one of the things that I wanted to talk about. We try not to be too politically driven on this show. You're not going to see us support either side. We're not going to support the Democrats on this show, and we're not going to support the Republicans on this show. What we do on this show is we support black people. The African American, African, whatever you want to call it, that lives right here in the United States of America, and more particularly our community right here in Denver, Colorado. So I would say this, when it comes to voting, we've heard all of these things come out concerning racism on either side. We've heard things talked about with Donald Trump, and we know he can say some silly things at times.
Yes.
So we're all aware of this.
He's an idiot.
Donald Trump says some things that are very offensive. He says things about people. He says things to people that someone may feel is a little bit off-putting. On the flip side, we have seen some things from the other candidate, Joseph Biden, and he has said some things and been a part of some things, just like with the Robert Byrd situation. I'm saying that a racist Klans member is his mentor.
Yes.
We've seen things on either side that suggest but lets us know and reveals who they are and their roots.
Yeah.
So once we get past who they are, because we know that they may have some racist over, and side tones, we have to get to what is it that they do. Now, I'm not going to tell you either way, but I will tell you, just like my brother told you, you need to educate yourself.
Yeah.
You need to know who you're voting for and why you're voting for them.
The policies they enacted and things of that nature. Because I'm gonna ask you a question, Terry, and we kind of wrote down the same thing when we was getting ready for the show. And it's like, how do you like your racism served? You like your racism served overtly or covertly?
Me, myself, and I'm just going to reiterate the fact that I don't want to see racism in any shape, form, or fashion. However, there's something that old folks used to say.
Yeah.
Old adage that I heard from old folks. And they say, better the devil you know.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Because at least you know up front who he is, what he's about, and how he feels about you.
Yeah.
I have sat down and had conversations with Klans members before. I rode a bus for 9 hours with the skinhead, and we sat there. Well, he's a neo-Nazi, and we sat there and had a very colorful conversation.
Yeah.
That whole way. And the reason why, how he felt, and I would share some things with him about how I felt as well. And because we didn't have the background of our people behind us or our people with us, we were able to speak from our hearts. And I actually learned a lot about the white community in just that little session.
And I'm going to say something. So you said what old folks used to say. Well, they say the biggest trick that the devil ever did in making everybody think he didn't he doesn't exist.
Right.
And when I also would like, if somebody's going to be racist, I want, let me know straight up, face to face, man to man. Tell me how you feel. Tell me what you think, because I can deal with that. But a covert racist, to me, can do more harm than good, because a covert racist is going to come tell you, power to the people, brother. Black Lives Matter. And then in the background, sneakily, he's going to do things that go to undermine you, right, and to try to hold you back as a black man.
And the other, or just the opposite, he'll do absolutely nothing for you.
Yeah, or he just won't do nothing for you.
Promises. Yeah. And let me just say this: I believe that both candidates are capable of these things. So I'm not trying to give one a pass and say that the other one is okay. Mm-hmm. What I'm saying is that when we deal with racism, we have to deal with it in every form or fashion. We can't excuse it on any level. And as black folks, as the texter said, what is our stance on voting? Listen, this is my personal stance. If you present me with two women, and both of them are not very desirable for whatever reason, they're both not desirable, then you know what? I'm not interested.
Yeah.
Because they say, and I've heard people say, oh, well, if you don't vote, then you can't complain. Well, to me, that's kind of difficult, because they're saying, well, if I take this woman that's less desirable, then, or take the other one that's less desirable, then I can't complain. Yeah. No, hold on. I don't want either one of them.
I don't want either one.
When you give me a better option, then maybe I might choose from that.
Or something that bothers me, brother, is that term, the lesser evil.
Okay.
I hear the term, the lesser evil. So I'm gonna put this into perspective the way I think about when people say the lesser evil. So ladies, you got a man, one man beats on his wife 5 days a week, and the other man beats it on his wife once a month. So you got to go with the lesser evil.
No.
Do you want to be with
either one of those niggas?
You want the one that whoops your butt every day, and the one that whoops your butt one?
Because you know what? As soon as I choose one of them brothers and I complain about it, they'll say, "Oh, well, you picked him. You knew he whooped butt once a month. You had to get it 5 days a week." Right. So you got to be careful with that. Now, and I'm not saying that again. This is not our way of saying don't vote. Because if you feel strongly about either candidate, I would encourage you to go out there and use the power of your vote.
Use the power of your vote.
But let me just say this real quick. We get wrapped up, it's kind of a dog and pony show. Because if I'm not going to get into the whole college electoral, but to a certain extent, the common man does not vote for the president.
Mm-hmm.
What you guys need to be doing, and we need to be doing as black people, and we said this on the show yesterday, is start looking at those seats in the Senate.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we can be
That's
powerful.
where we can
That's
be
where
powerful.
we can be powerful with our vote.
Senators have to do what we want. But you guys, I'm a guy. Remember the old schoolhouse rock? They used to come on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm only a bill.
I'm just a bill.
Yeah, I'm only a bill. There you go.
That's what it is. That people sign those bills and they sign policies and they sign acts in. That's what you really need to look at. The bills that they're signing, the people that you're voting for. Look at the bills they're signing. What's their agenda? Are they pandering to the big corporations? Are they wanting to take care of you and your community? Are they trying to put money back in your community? What are they really doing? That's what you really want to look at when you're voting. That's why you want to see. Go look up a judge. Try to look up his conviction record. Is he convicted more? How is he sentencing blacks versus whites, or your people versus someone else?
We talked about
what
this last
What are
night.
they doing? I mean, you got to really look at things and make an educated decision. And that's what I'm just going to say. It's all about educating yourself and making an educated decision. Just not going blindly because for generations upon generations, your family voted a certain way. Whether it's either side, educate yourself. See what's going on and make the right decision based on that.
Let me ask you this question. Do you believe, because I've heard this also, that black people can be racist? And let me define racism real quick. Racism is prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism towards or directed towards a certain people. Do you believe that blacks can be racist?
Well, before we got to hit that, because I think there's two things. I think there's a difference between prejudice and racism. Prejudice is not knowing somebody's culture and judging them by like what you see on TV, other things that you see. You're judging and looking at them because you've never really been around them or never really know them. So you have prejudices about what you've seen and what you heard. That's a prejudice. I can deal with prejudice. Racism is you're acting out on it. You're trying to do something to destroy that person, to harm that person, to put that person in jail, to do some detriment to that person. That's where I feel racism comes in. Or you're turning a blind, or there could be the silent racism, like people who know their family is a racist and see all the racist things their family does, but they do nothing about it. I think you're equally as culpable as they are because you're just allowing the racism, especially if you don't feel that way, especially if you say you're a Christian and you're in the form of God, but then you sit out there and you see what your family members are doing.
So you think that, let's say whites, for instance, that may live amongst other whites who are racist. You think it's their personal and civic duty to speak out against the racism that they're observing?
Absolutely. If they're saying they're not racist and they don't agree with them, who can talk to them and make sense and get into their head more than their own people? If you was a mama and your boys was prejudiced and you went and talked to your boys, they're gonna have no other choice but to listen
do you
to
think?
you.
Let me ask you this question: do you think that racism or prejudice is more accepted within the black community than it may be in the white community? And I'm saying current day, 2020, because I know. And you know, we've been around black people, and we hear those racist slurs.
We have a lot of racism towards, but you know, it's built up with us because how we've been treated. We've been treated
so are you able
for
to
so
excuse
long. I'm not excusing it, but I'm saying I understand the reason.
So do you think that, because you just gave a position there, do you think that we should speak up just as much when we hear people being racist towards white folks?
If we're going to say they have to, I guess we have to, don't we?
Yeah, because I mean, we hear it a lot. I know you've heard it. I've heard it. I've been in circles.
And everybody who knows me, knows I've had white people who in the business world who have propelled me and given me promotions where there was brothers that were trying to tear me down, or once I got that promotion, the brothers was trying to tear me down after I was risen on that. So yeah, I mean, you have people, and they're still my friends today. And you know, quote unquote, I have white people as friends, but it's true. I have several white people in my life who I love, and they've been friends, and they've been a part of my family, and they come around, and it's all love. And so I understand that. and if somebody was to do a racist act towards them, I would check that brother and say, nah, man, don't do that.
Okay.
So I would do that because
So you
I'm not
think we
love
have a responsibility as well?
I said we all have a responsibility. If we're all about
Okay.
love, support, and protect, you can't go. We got to take care of our in-home selves first.
Okay.
But when you hate and you hinder that, and you have unforgiveness in your heart, then that messes with you. So we have to teach our people to forgive. Now, just because you forgive somebody, you don't have to be reconciled to that person, if you know what I'm saying.
Until they seek that reconciliation.
Until they see. Because it takes two to reconcile.
Right. So until they seek that reconciliation,
reconciliation,
especially within our community, then,
Yeah.
then we sit this one out, right?
Mhm.
Okay. All right. So how do you feel about, because you just already asked me the question about what types of racism do we prefer, and I think we got that out there. I don't prefer either type of racism, but if I did have to pick one, I'd rather someone let me know where we stand instead of
Face to face.
Right.
Because if you know where someone stands face to face, you can talk your differences out, and you
Like
can
I
see
said, I
where
did with the skinhead
with the skinhead.
Right.
You can see. I also, doing my work, the guy had a swastika on his neck, had a Confederate flag. I sat in his home for an hour and a half, had coffee with him. We talked about several different topics. When we got up, it surprised me. He reached out, gave me a hug, and he looked at me and he said, "I know you see these marks on my neck." He said, "But that's who I was in the past because I was young and dumb and I didn't understand the world. And now I understand the world." He said, I gotta live with this, but that's not who I am now. So he came to know who he was, and I've shared this with several people who know me. So that's what I'm saying. If somebody's out in front with it, they can make a change because you can have a conversation with them rather than a covert person. They hate your guts, and you can never have a conversation with because you don't even know.
And those roots run a lot deeper. So how do you think, in closing, how do you think that how do we fight racism, especially in the white community? What is our best tool?
Our best tool is what we kind of been doing. I mean, I love when Karen start up and you get Karen on a video and you get them live and showing their racism, and then they got to go back and they lose their jobs. Okay. And we go to businesses that are just treating us a certain way as racist. We put it on Facebook. Racism, like a lot of people, are covert racists. Okay. More people are covert racist than are out. You probably got 15% of a population that is open about their racism, and the other 85% is covert. But they do things undercover when they don't think anybody is looking, like the Karens and things of that nature, or you in a restaurant and they treat you a certain way. That's when you uncover and you pull back the curtain, like the Wizard of Oz. You pull back the curtain on those people and let people know them for who they truly are.
Well, what I would say is this, and that is a way to expose them, and that's kind of what you're touching on.
Yeah.
What I would say when it comes to racism, and my best way of fighting racism is, for me myself, I try not to be what they think I am.
Yeah.
I make sure that when I speak, especially with those people that I find to be somewhat racist, I put my best foot forward. I don't let them see me as the ninja that they think that I may be. And I would also, encourage blacks to do that wherever they are. I understand that you can be yourself and you should be yourself at any given time.
And that's what I'm saying, because I go into people's homes every day of every race, creed, and color. When I say every race, creed, and color, I mean every race, creed, or color. And I'm Michael White, Dwayne, whatever you want to call me, my name, I'm there. But some people, it's funny how they look surprised when they see how educated I am, how worldly I am, the knowledge that I have about particular things, and they seem surprised by that. And I've gotten sales and things from people because they looked at me one way when I walked in.
And expected something.
And like a gentleman today, his family purchased from me and everything, and he said, "You know what, I really like you. Do you mind if I hit you up from time to time and talk?" we had some really deep conversations
Now, this
while I
was a
was
white
in his
person?
home. Yeah, it was a
Okay.
white man. He was a fellow Christian white man, and we had our different stands and views on things. And he respected what I had to say because I told him this is where it starts with us talking our differences right here and
Okay.
now.
Okay.
And I told him, me and your responsibility as Christian brothers is we're not supposed to look at anything at all but our fellow Christian and walk hand in hand with them because that's
you know
where we
what?
go
This
from.
one,
But
that's a slippery slope.
Yeah,
Because you know them jokers in them
Yeah,
robes were saying they was Christian too.
Yeah, and that's what I told him, man, because I said a lot of
You know,
people.
them sheets, they was Christian too.
They disguise themselves as Christian, but they don't do Christian acts. There's a whole difference in there.
Okay.
Just because you and everybody just because you say you one thing, somebody know the truth, and
Exactly.
you will be discovered.
That is true, but again, back to what I was saying, I believe that if we do not live up to the stereotypes that they feel that we are supposed to slip into, then on that level, we are fighting racism, and that is a tool to fight racism. We can call them out, and I agree, Fox, and we could call them out, and we can use our voices. However, we have a responsibility of ourselves not to live up or live down to the boxes that they've put us in, or at least in the ways in which they see us.
Yes, and I mean, and it's not. And then people say, "Oh, well, y'all stepping and fetching and everything." Nah, it's not that. It's just that what people see on the TVs and everything. If you go into a situation like you're in the grocery store and somebody treats you a certain way, and you get loud, you yell, you get ignorant, and you act like that, then you're living up to living down to the stereotype that they're presented with, and how they see you because they don't know you.
But if you take the other path and say, you know what, I'm going to call a corporate office, I'm going to report them, I'm going to record what happened, I'm going to also tell my friends, family, neighbors, and everybody that I come in contact with that they're racist and they don't
I'm just
should
going to
do
give
that.
you an example. And I don't get too much of my personal, but I also being at work, and I went to a venue, and one of the guys I walked into a venue, he called me the N-word. And then and almost in Boondocks, I had that in moment, and I almost went there with them, but I came to my senses and I walked out the venue.
At this point, you were displaying a high emotional quotient.
Yeah, I walked out the venue. I called my boss. I filed a report. This guy had our services. He had a bar. It was a sports bar. So right around the time they did their investigation, right around the time where the NBA season kicks in, guess whose services got cut off because of what he did to me. There's a way to handle it correctly and not ignorant and make people feel it.
Because if you were to slip into that situation and start acting a fool, start acting out,
I would have lost my job.
and
He
your
would have
power.
had his service, and I would have gave all the power
Exactly,
to him.
and
And I
that's-
refuse to give anybody power. You can't give them the power.
And
So
that's
you have
exactly
to
why-
know how to behave and act in situations.
And that's exactly what I wanted to speak to as well. There is a way that we can combat this that is a little bit more socially responsible and also helps our community at the same time. Because if we do go out here and start acting like the real ends that they may think that we are, then we just give more power to them. And like
I'm just going to put, ignorance never prevails.
It doesn't.
When has ignorance ever
And
prevailed?
a low emotional quotient doesn't prevail either.
Yeah, you gotta, just like I handled the situation, I could have cussed the lady out. Oh, you treating them like that. But I just said something plain and simple to her and walked away. Common sense sometimes trumps policies.
Hey man, well I appreciate you guys for coming in. I know it's a Friday night.
Yeah.
And I know y'all want to get to it.
Yeah.
But we do appreciate you guys for coming in, hanging out with us. Fox. Who else do we have on there?
Mike and Mike at night. If you're here at nighttime,
You're here at the right
you're at the
time.
right time. Thank you so much for coming in and joining us on the show. And y'all have a good one now, you hear?
Already.
That was then, this is now, this is so, let them know. That was then, this is me, this is king. You ain't know, yeah, no, quit him. Sound like in my idea. Type of party on film. That's the drama for real. Drop me hard at the top.